Hello, hello, my Let's Keep It Real people. Well, you are in for a special treat. Yes, if you're in your car, I would prefer you just listen to Kate and I. But if not, you could go on some platforms and see Kate Heartsong. But before I bring her on, let me tell you about Kate. Kate's elixir of calming energy, passion, encouragement, and empowerment inspires others. She is an author, the confidence coach, speaker, Reiki Master teacher, and her newest book, Humanity's Cry for Change, gives readers simple exercises and concepts, empowering them to know it is possible to make positive change and to navigate these uncertain times. Hey, I'm so happy. I feel like it's people are going to be seeing this and watching this and listening to this during, probably into the new year. But I'm so glad that right before Christmas, when we're recording it, I feel like I'm in Santa's workshop.
Oh, it's such a delight to be here, Sandy. Thank you again for having me. Love to be here and to empower others.
I'm glad you're here. So are you really into the holidays like me? I mean, like I even have my nails painted red and green.
I'm like, why are my nails not painted like yours? No. But I do love the holidays. I love what it represents, the reminding us of the connection that we have and the unity and just the warmth and the family and there's so many warm things that the holiday reminds us of. We all desire peace on earth. We all want and need love. And it seems to me, for most people and for me, holidays really bring this all out. The warmth, the light. Yeah, all of that.
I was telling you before we started recording that my favorite thing is I get to see people I normally don't get to see. Even though we could, for some reason, we'll make an exception to the rule and we slow down our busy schedule just a bit to get together. And not that I don't like Christmas Day, but I like everything leading up to it.
Exactly. It's very exciting. I had an amazing holiday party about a week and a half ago, just being with like-minded people and the connection and people like you. I have not seen for a long time, but it's nice when we connect. And then, the busyness, although I do have my time at night to be a little quiet from the day's busyness. But there's so many wonderful things about the holidays.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Before we get into your 3 major tips, I want to make sure we cover because I love them, especially for this time of year. I need you to tell me your word, one word that best describes your past 30 days, and why would you pick it?
Excitement. That's my word for the last 30 days. And I think the reason I'm picking that is because I am so grateful to be so physically healthy, and which I normally am. And so I'm very happy about that. And also just all the excitement of meeting new people and running into people I haven't seen for a while. Really a lot of what we're talking about with the holidays, just the warmth, the light, for myself, deepening into even more connection with myself. And as I do, I'm more connected with others. And just this is not maybe a little more in the holidays, and in the last 30 days, but generally in my life, just to be able to give and serve and coming from heart and love. And I love that because it helps me to raise my vibration. And I'm just very excited and grateful.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, Kate, normally we wait to the end, but I think it's relevant to what we're talking about today. So I want to start out with your latest book, Humanity's Cry for Change. How did this come about? Why? And what inspired you to write it?
That's a good question, Sandy. It goes back to around 25 years ago. While I was in meditation, I was noticing that I was receiving the profound insights, just some amazing information that was coming through. And I was guided to grab a pen and a paper and start writing. And I was amazed, and just my heart filled so with these words of love and kindness and guidance for me. And as time went on, I came to realize now there's even more amazing information coming through that resulted in my first book called Deeply We Are One, that was published about 12 years ago. In essence, it's about how important it is that we acknowledge our greatness. And through that, we can better see that in others. And then as time went on, probably about 10 years, 8 years ago, again, amazing information, wisdom that came through on the changing times on the planet. And so I, again, just writing down these words, I knew it had to be shared with the masses. And it's my latest book, Humanity's Cry for Change. And it's essentially just an awesome, I feel very honored to be the messenger of this. So it's really through what I call automatic writing that has inspired me. And when I read the information, I thought there's just no way it's just for me. And so it's got some amazing information in there. And I'm just happy to be the messenger.
Yeah, I love that. So what you're saying, it definitely is divine intervention, and you're the vehicle to get it out on paper.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Sandy. I, among many others on the planet, are wonderful messengers. Perhaps you could say we're pioneers, helping people, helping the masses to better understand how we can navigate these crazy times, and why are we going through such chaotic, challenging situations in our own lives as well as on the planet.
Yeah, yeah. You know, we were just having a conversation the other day with just some really fun people at a networking event, and it was all about, are people capable of change? And of course, everyone agreed they are. But then few people, I'd say half of the people said, yes, we're capable of change, but very few of us change that much because it's very difficult.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And as much as we want it, unless it's this burning desire to have something or something tragic, we're not that different from 10 years ago, even though we want to. How do you feel about that, Kate?
Oh, yes. And it is so true. Unless a person goes through great pain or tragedy, or we really have that deep motivation, and then what is the cause of that motivation? Unless one of those two things happen, people generally don't change. But it is so possible to make change. And it can be sometimes painful, but there's many ways that we can make it less painful. And that is a whole nother topic and session. So I won't go too much down that. But it is possible. And like I mentioned to you, Sandy, I'm so passionate to know, I'm passionate to let people know it's entirely possible to make change. For example, when I tell people, I used to be very shy, I used to have no self-esteem, but lots and lots and lots of shame from a traumatic childhood, like many of us go through traumatic childhood.
Yeah.
It was so painful as a child, but over the years, I have been determined to make a change in my life. And I've been able to do it. It took years. It's not something that happens overnight. But this is exactly what gives me the knowing that it is possible to change, because I am completely opposite. I'm confident. I know that everyone else is the same as me, and I am with them. I'm no better or worse than others. And this confidence is what I want to impart on others, So it is
Mm.
possible to make change. And even when there's change, oh boy, I can go on and on, but I'll just wrap it up by
Okay.
saying,
Yeah.
thank you. Even though we are going through painful change, whether it's in our individual lives or it's on the planet, with the global shifts that are happening, there is always a gift, always a lesson. So, for example, there's a lesson of personal expansion and growth. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, I was thinking, why is it that old people are so wise? And it dawned on me, well, the reason is they've been going through so much in their life. They've been around longer, they've had more experience,
Mm.
and they glean, they get that wisdom from their experiences and from the pain. So,
Yeah. Hopefully they're wise. I know some of are very crotchety.
oh, that's true, actually. Oh,
It depends on who they are.
that's true. Actually, I forgot about that's very true. Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's an individual thing. I meet people that are in their 90s and they couldn't be more positive, you know,
Yes.
not because of their life, but just because of them and their outlook, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Totally.
then, and I love hanging out with them and they are so wise. And then there's others, which you can't blame them. Life, you know, got them down,
Yes.
or they've seen a lot of their friends aren't here anymore. And it's
Yeah.
tough, you know?
Yes.
So I
Very
guess it
true.
just depends on the individual, but
True.
like everything. But the thing that everyone was asking me before you come on, because I do reach out to my people and say, what do you want to know? And I let them review your topic. They would like some ideas of the process of how do you, let's say you say, okay, I want to change this part of me. Like I'm shy and I like to be a little bit more outgoing, like you mentioned. What is something that you do to start that process of change?
Oh, excellent question. There are many things we can do. So if there is something that we want to change within ourselves, first of all, I would say give yourself a hand for even the awareness. Awareness is key. So
Mm.
what you can do is be aware, well, where am I at now? And what is it that I want to change? Why do I want to change? If you're willing, do some introspection, some self-reflection, honest self-reflection, maybe type on a computer or journal in a paper,
Mhm.
the old-fashioned way on paper. And
Yeah, yeah.
just be honest and just really reflect. Why is it I want to change? There's so many good reasons to change. And then the next step would be, oh, before I go into the next step, please always to be compassionate with yourself and don't beat yourself up. So if you're like, God, oh, I've had the same stupid job for 20 years and there's
Yeah.
something wrong with me, I really want to change. Well, if you can, try not to beat yourself up. Really important to honor where you're at, know
Yep.
that where you're at is good. Yes, it's so important. And then the next step would be thinking about, well, what action steps can I take to make a change? Do I need a coach to help me? It depends on what type of change we want to make. For example, maybe someone wants to make a career change. Maybe they can do research online, Google. There's so many resources on new careers. Maybe they'll want to go to the local workforce center that has coaches to help you. Well, maybe they want to talk to a friend. Whatever feels right, take an action step, even if it's a small step. Depends on the type of change we want to make. If it's huge, take the first little step. If you can, be willing to commit to yourself. I am committed to do this research 3 hours a day for 2 days or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it takes. So getting to know yourself, self-reflection, what is the reason for the change? and then take the first step, and then from there move forward. And I can tell you it's possible. It is entirely possible to make change.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Kate, that the biggest thing for people, I think, is admitting that's what they feel or that's what they think without judging themselves.
Yeah.
Because I feel as if, not that it works, but by avoiding it, putting our head in the sand, it's like it doesn't exist. You don't have to deal with it. But then when you go, oh yeah, I've been at the same job, or I wanted to move, or I wanted to meet a mate, and I've been saying it for 20 years, you get really upset and angry at yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And how does that serve us?
Yes, yes. And so I'm so about, I wish I have to get a copy of this. I don't know if it's a prayer, but it's a tribal prayer that I heard that they say in South America, and I heard it, but the whole prayer was just about you being kind and compassionate and forgiving to yourself and
Yes.
honoring yourself
Yes.
and your unique gifts so that you can forgive others,
Yes.
because you're forgiving yourself and not judge where you are in your journey. I mean, it was so well said, and I will send you. I mean, I was like, whoa, it said
That sounds
everything
wonderful.
that I've been
Mm.
saying just so perfectly. And then no matter what your faith, what your belief, so you can connect to the universe or your higher power.
Precisely. And I love how you said that, Sandy, because that brings up another really key point in life anyway. And that is whatever we have within ourselves, compassion, love, kindness, not beating ourselves up, whatever we have in ourselves, we actually see better in others.
Mm.
Really, we can only see it or do it in others when it's within ourselves, because
Yeah.
all of us are mirrors to each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I was talking to a group of freshman college kids, and they were asking about judgment. And it's human nature. We all judge. It's just a matter to the extent, and if we're aware of it, we catch ourselves. And one young man said, my mom told me years ago that if someone is going to judge me and judge me most of the time, that it's probably somebody I don't want to be friends with, because even though they're judging themselves harshly too, so that's why they're judging me.
Right.
Why would I want to hang out with those people?
Exactly.
And I thought about that, and he's so right, right?
Totally. And like you said, the judgment starts within. And so
Yeah.
then people naturally, I mean, this is just human nature. We project outside of us. So then we judge outside.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a good story, very good story, and a good
Yeah. And
awareness.
then the other girl goes, okay, so the more I love myself unconditionally, the more I'm going to love others. And this dude goes, yes.
Yes, exactly.
I
Absolutely.
love it. I mean, there's so, not that we are, some adults are, but the younger generation is so much more willing to share their feelings.
Yes, they
I don't
are.
know if you find that, Kate, but I mean, they're just willing.
I think so too. And that's so important. That's, to me, authenticity and transparency. As I was growing up, I never heard, I mean, I knew the word transparency, but that's not the word that we use so much. Well, we use the word honest, but
Yeah.
nowadays it's transparency. So how wonderful it is that we can be more open with each other. But when we're open with each other, we're also being transparent with ourselves, right, Sandy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm sharing how I feel with someone else, that means I'm in awareness. Again, for me, awareness is like number one, being aware of my feelings. Yes. Yeah.
So that's a big one, because a couple of the questions I got from some of my listeners were, how can you tell that to people you love? Because they find very often it just backfires on them. especially if, it's your mate, your spouse, your
Mm.
kids, and they see something within them, but if they're in denial and they aren't willing to change or admit it, I don't know what you can, what can you say to people like that if they don't really want to see it, especially people that you live with?
Yeah. So if I'm hearing your question right, the question really is, how can we interact or deal with someone who has maybe something going on inside that isn't working for them, or they're plain old in denial?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if it's your kid, and we're talking about most of the people that wrote in, the kids are older, you know what I mean? They're not little kids.
Yeah.
It's hard not to want to fix it, even though they're grown up and in high school and college.
Yes.
But they're saying, how can I even say anything to them if they just think, you're just making it up. That's not true. Or their spouse. I don't know what you would do in that case. Kate, I think you froze. Hi. You did freeze. I thought you were thinking about your answer. You froze for a bit.
I was just going to say the same. You froze, so I didn't hear the rest of the
Yeah.
question, but I
And
do
that's
get the
okay
gist of
because
it.
they'll cut it out. So I
But
think
I,
it's trickier when it's your loved ones. Like you can
yes,
talk to a therapist or a coach,
yeah,
but when it's your loved ones, they were asking for advice with they feel that it's something they're doing
yeah,
that doesn't serve them well. How do you approach the subject when they're your loved ones?
yeah. That can be done in different ways, and certainly it does depend on the context. Two things come to my mind. One is this awesome book that's called Nonviolent Communication.
Ooh,
And I apologize, I'm not remembering. I don't recall the author's name. I have my book over there, but maybe it'll come to me.
that's
But
okay.
it's
That's enough.
but it's an extraordinary, and there's other methods too, but this is one I'm familiar with. If there's something that's bothering you about someone, to do the nonviolent communication, and the steps are this. The first step is you simply state, I'll share the steps and then I will share an example. The
Oh,
first step,
cool.
the first step is you state some facts.
Okay.
Not getting too emotional, you just state certain facts. The second step is, when this happens, I feel this.
Okay.
The third step is, what I need is this and this. And then the fourth step is, I am requesting that you do such and such.
Okay.
Yeah. And so here's an example. When let's say I'm married and my husband is for some reason yelling at me. And generally
Okay.
we have a really great relationship, but he is very stressed at work. And let's say
Okay.
he just is putting it out on me. And
Yeah.
it's happened pretty consistently. So
Yeah.
certainly if it happens once, I wouldn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the context is, well, John, I've noticed 3 times last week when you came home, and I know it was a very long day for you, but you were very short and even yelled at me a little bit. And I've noticed this has happened pretty frequently. You know, you've been under a lot of pressure with that project at work. When I am yelled at, I feel hurt and I don't feel like I deserve it. What I need is for you to do something to calm yourself down before we interact. No, I'm sorry. The third one is, what I need is to be respected.
Okay.
And the fourth step is, so what I'm requesting for you to do is to come up with some way that maybe you can release your stress, calm down before you and I interact.
It's so non-threatening. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the way you say, I know it, I'm acknowledging it, but you're still sticking up for yourself and your needs
Yes.
and giving advice in how to do. I love it. And by the way, I don't know if it is, but I was looking it up. There is a book by Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg.
I think that's who it is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an extraordinary book. Another method that I would suggest is, and again, depends on the context, but how to deal with someone who's in denial or, what they're doing really bugs you.
Yeah.
This is a really, really big one, and it's called the Ho'oponopono prayer
Whoa.
of forgiveness. The Ho'oponopono prayer of forgiveness. It's from Hawaii.
Love the name.
Extraordinary. And I'll share briefly what I used this once, and I'm actually going to be using it again for a different situation. It's really powerful. And essentially, what it is recognizing that all attributes, all characteristics that everyone has is within me. Some of them are more dominant than others, but it's the whole idea that we're all interconnected, that we are all one, and that what I have within me is actually within everyone else. Now, we may not follow through with all of it. Some of it's dominant, some are not dominant, some we don't even have the characteristics. But if there's something that's bothering someone, really, truly do the work within yourself. And then you will see the shift. You will see the change on the outside. Dear Mahatma Gandhi had said, be the change that you want to be. So this is what I'm talking about. And essentially, and I encourage everyone to look it up online.
Okay.
And it's also in my book. Online gives a lot more details, but it's amazing. Essentially what it is 4 steps. And the first step is saying, I am sorry. Second step, please forgive me. Third step, thank you. And the fourth step is, I love you. And it could go like something like this. I am sorry for whatever it is within inside of me that has caused you to be angry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Ooh.
Now, it's not necessarily that short. It could
Yeah.
be where a person would really want to sit in silence and really be with it, with each step for some time, whatever feels right. There's an extraordinary story that is about an institution in Hawaii, a psychiatric institution where they were holding the highly criminally insane people in a certain ward. And that state hospital, tried to resolve the increased violence that these people were having, these people who are hospitalized. And they tried and nothing worked. So then they brought in this man, Dr. Hugh Lin, Len, I believe is his last name.
Okay.
Who came in, and what this doctor did is he did the Ho'oponopono prayer. And he looked at the files of each one of the patients and just worked with them and did this prayer. And if I remember right, in about a 2-year or 3-year period, there was so much healing through this Ho'oponopono prayer that they actually ended up releasing these people. They were healed. And it's so powerful, very powerful. It's what recognizing within ourselves, there's part of us that has caused it. talk about huge self-responsibility.
Yes.
And it's just an amazing process. It's extraordinary. So I just can't say enough about this. Really, to do the work within ourselves in order to
Yeah.
see the change on the outside, whether it's on an individual basis, or what if we were what if we were to resolve the inner conflict that we have within ourselves? What if we were to do our own personal healing work? We would see a shift on the outside on the planet, because, so much of the chaos and difficulty and war and aggression is actually a reflection of the collective consciousness inner conflict. So this is really powerful work.
It is. So I want to get to some of the questions, and because I think it really relates to this, in that many people wrote in that who do really want to every single day seek self-growth, right? Every single day, they do believe in general that they can change and that they're responsible for how they show up in the world. Okay, so let's get that a given. Most of these people that, and that's a lot of my listeners. But they get unclear about when is it that I'm just forgiving and accepting and being taken advantage of. Do you know what I mean by that fine line of
Yes.
I accept where they are, and I'm generalizing, but I got a lot of the same kind of question. Like it, and I think it's more because they're going to more family gatherings during the holidays,
Yeah,
and a lot of
yeah.
times you don't, it's not always loving with family gatherings, right? It brings up a lot of things. But that to me is tricky, because I do see people saying, well, it's easier actually for me to forgive people and accept them where they are and they're not capable. And how do I do it? And at the same time, not be taken advantage of or stand up for myself.
Yeah, that's a good question. That depends on the context, but I would say, in essence, first of all, awareness. To
Mhm.
be aware, yes, you want to forgive them. Can you sincerely forgive?
Mm,
We can say it intellectually, I forgive you, and maybe we really want to, but
yeah.
in our hearts, are we really going to? Yeah, I had something with my sister, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago. She massively betrayed me, and I so focused on it, and I was so angry, and then
Yeah.
realized I needed to forgive her. But at the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, how do I forgive? But then I came over the years to truly, deeply embody forgiveness. So I would say the first thing is, great, have the awareness. Are you truly going to forgive in a sincere?
We froze again. I hope it unfreezes. What's the time? 45 in. What is going on with the internet? Because this is good stuff.
Oh, we froze again.
Okay, the good news about the fact that it's recorded, it will be cut out. So
Cool. So
you were
I will
saying that
start.
you weren't truly forgiving her, but through the years, then you did.
Absolutely. So through the years, I was able to forgive. So I would say to your audience, first, be certainly aware. Are you ready to forgive? Perhaps you need to really be processing your feelings and emotions first. Have you
Mm,
completely processed those emotions? And has it really been dissipated? And if
mm,
so, then you can be in a much better place to forgive. And also acceptance. Forgiveness and acceptance, to me, can go hand in hand. So if we're in a place of awareness, yes, I have done my processing. I really feel in a good place. I can forgive. It doesn't
mhm.
mean I condone the situation, but that I can forgive and I can be in a place of acceptance. That's awesome. Then also to be aware of our boundaries. Yes, I can forgive. I can accept this person, but I also have boundaries. So I'm not going to be taken advantage of. If we can stand in our truth and in our anchor of empowerment, and to not let that person take advantage of us. Perhaps it means we don't see them as often as we used to, or maybe never again. Now with with the Christmas holidays or Thanksgiving, if they're a family member, it's a place, and one thing to keep in mind is it's important to know your awareness. Be in a place of that forgiveness and acceptance, but also know your boundaries and don't let that person take advantage of you.
Mm.
That means you know yourself well enough to be able to do that. So, and if they
Mm.
are mean, if they're rude, if possible, easier said than done sometimes, but if possible, stay in a place of love within your heart.
Yeah.
Total deep love and kindness, knowing that they are where they're at, who they are, and what they say does not have to hurt you. Maybe even
Ooh,
set an intention before you show up for that party. Oh, I see Uncle Mel there. I know he's always going to give me grief, but
yeah.
I totally get it. I understand. I have truly forgiven him. And when I show up at the party, I'm just going to be in a place of love. And this is powerful. A friend of mine told me about that, what she did last year with her sister, who
Mm.
abused her for years. My friend came to a place of love, and she saw this incredible shift within the
Mm.
dynamics of the family when she went out to see them. So being in that stance of love
Yeah.
and our anchor, knowing our boundaries, it's powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And it really, like you said, it takes a lot of self-awareness. And I think for some people, it's being really strong with I can forgive and love them, but making sure I have these boundaries of what works for me.
Yes,
What works for me. And
yes.
it's different for everyone. I think right now with the holidays, I call it people's sticky wicket because our families really are.
Yeah,
They really, we can learn a lot. Like you said at the beginning, it's an opportunity of self-awareness and growth because other people you don't have to hang out with as much, right? You
yes,
can say, I won't see them anywhere. I love them, but they're not, at where I want to be. And so I'm going to be around people that make me feel good. But when it's family gatherings, you don't want to not go because of an aunt, an uncle, or one dad or mom, when the rest of the people you enjoy.
right. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be tricky, but it doesn't have to be. And it's a reminder for me to share how powerful intention is. If we can
Mm.
set an intention before we show up, the intention, whatever that might be, and to
Yeah.
also, again, repeating myself, but to have that love within. The love within does radiate out, and people notice. If
Yeah.
I mean, contrast that, Sandy, to, oh, I'm so nervous. Oh, I don't want to see Uncle Mel. Oh God, he was so mean. And
Yeah.
that energy we carry, they pick up on it. But if we're in a place of love and kindness, and it doesn't mean that they should take advantage of you, even though we're in a place of love and kindness,
Yeah. I get it.
you can still not be taken advantage of. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point, though, too. The more nervous you are about meeting a certain person at a gathering, they can feel it and they know it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so the stronger you come in with your love for yourself and the love for others, I've seen a lot of situations where people say, those people are so mean. And I was like, what are you talking about? They were the nicest thing I ever saw. But I
Yeah.
set the intention and I really spent time before I went into it. And I'm not saying they aren't that way with most people, but they weren't that way with me.
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good point, Sandy.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
Yeah. And
Yes.
you don't do that every time, but sometimes I do more of the preparation, and then other times you get caught off guard because you're not thinking, about it. So
Yeah.
it's trial and error, but I always say family gatherings, really, especially for me, is a time for self-growth and
It is. It is. That's
and
why we're here, self-growth and expansion.
yeah.
Yes.
I
Oh,
want to make sure because I think we've covered uh most of the stuff that I wanted to get in for you, but I just want to reiterate the last point that you mentioned, which is daily write down or think about 3 things you can acknowledge yourself for.
that's really a powerful exercise. I don't know how many people do this, but when we can
Mm,
do that, and it doesn't have to be a big thing to acknowledge ourselves for. It can be something like just making a meal or going to work even if we don't want to, or listening to a friend who needs us, or tending the garden, or taking care of our pet, taking them to the vet, whatever it is, doing self-care. But when we can acknowledge ourselves, it does so many things. One is it helps us to have gratitude, and gratitude raises our vibration.
mm,
It also helps us to focus on positive. Oh, what is working right for me? Instead of focusing on the negative.
yeah.
And it can, for people who have low self-esteem or just mediocre, or maybe they're just not feeling very good about themselves, it'll help raise our self-esteem and confidence. We're like, oh,
Mm,
you know, I really do have this great gift of listening. I've had 2 friends tell me in the last 2 weeks, compliment me on it. Maybe I really am a good listener, or how I helped the elderly lady and she was so grateful. It feels good for me to help my neighbor. So
mm,
it's powerful. Doing it daily in the morning or in the evening, writing it down or just thinking about it, maybe associate it with drinking a cup of water,
mm.
drinking I have a client recently who's doing just that every time she drinks her coffee as a reminder to think of some good things when she's drinking her coffee.
Yeah, I like that. So, Kate, have you always been in this field? I mean, since you you left school, or were you something else? Were you in the the business world?
I laugh because it's so funny you should ask. I actually, for 25 years, I was an accountant in the
I remember
business
I
world.
knew that. That's why I said that. Like, yeah.
And speaking of change, about 12 years ago, I was laid off from what was my last full-time accounting job. And at first I was really upset, but then I realized this is actually what I've been asking for.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years prior, I've had this inner sense that I need to become a coach and I want to work directly with people. And I knew at that time I was an author. And so I've been for probably the last 12 years officially as a coach and an author. But even prior to that, I've been doing work, created my own meditation workshops, empowerment and self-esteem workshops, because I knew I loved working with people. So yeah, I'm so where I need to be, where I'm meant
Yeah.
to be right now. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned at the time, you don't think it's a blessing. Sometimes when you get let go, you have to move,
Yeah.
certain different things happen, but it had to happen that way for you to get where you really wanted to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the way the universe had to deliver it to you. All right, Kate, before we wrap up, I want you to tell everybody, where can they find your book? Where can they find you? How can they work with you?
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I have my website, joyfulradiance.com,
Ooh,
joyfulradiance.com. Your middle name, Sandy Joy.
yeah.
So on my website, joyfulradiance.com, there's an opt-in. People are welcome to sign up for a free e-newsletter once a month,
Mm,
and you'll
cool.
get 2 heartwarming meditations. My book is also on there, Humanity's Cry for Change. And also, that book is on Amazon.
Okay.
And I also would like to offer, just if anyone has questions, feel free to reach me. I'm here to support people.
Aw,
Feel free to reach me and we can exchange emails or, just go to my contact form on my website. And I have social media sites on there too. I only have 2 of them though. I'll be adding more, but anyway, you can reach me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I also have Twitter and Instagram. So
Oh, you're all over there, Kate. Well, listen,
yes.
it's been a pleasure to have you on, and
Oh,
I'm glad that we did it so they can see you. I also can feel without a doubt that you are here to serve others. You can feel it. You genuinely love what you do. You're so passionate, and I can see it in every ounce of your being. And I know that anyone that reads your book is going to feel it too,
yes.
not
Thank
just
you.
your one-on-one clients.
Oh, thank you, Sandy. Yes, thank you. It really is my passion, and people will greatly benefit from the book. So thank you so much. And it's such a joy to be here with you, and
Yeah,
happy holidays to you and everyone on your audience. Happy holidays.
thanks, Kate. And before we wrap up, is there anything we didn't get in that you want to tell my Let's Keep It Real people?
I would love to share. I often do this on the podcast I'm on or any other venue. I really want people to recognize the greatness of who they are. Totally to embody who you are. You are amazing and you are here, and who you are makes a difference. And it is such an honor to have you on the planet. So know that
Aw,
about yourself.
thank you so much. All right, my Let's Keep It Real people. We totally would appreciate it if you rate it, like it, and share it. Enjoy the holiday season, have fun with others. But you know what I'm going to say before I go? Toodles. Bye, Kate.
Bye-bye.